Finance Minister Matia Kasaija started off his budget presentation by highlighting the current challenges hindering economic growth, in part youth unemployment, drought, land fragmentation, among others, that require immediate redress. Some of these sectors have been allocated funds in the financial year 2017-2018.
Let's have a look at sectoral allocations. Works and transport, as usual, taking the biggest share, 4.5 trillion shillings versus 3.8 trillion shillings, which is 21% of the national budget, the biggest share. Payment on loans and interest, 2.6 versus 2 trillion shillings, 12% of the national budget. We move on to education, which is taking 2.5 trillion shillings versus 2.4, which is an 11.3% of the budget. Energy, 2.3% versus 2.3 trillion. There is no movement on that, and that's a 10.5% share of the national budget. We move on to the most important sector of the economy, which is health, taking 1.8 trillion shillings versus 1.8 trillion. No movement, no addition, and that's about 8% of the national budget. Security, 1.4 trillion versus 1.5 trillion, which is 6.7% of the national budget. We go to ICT, which is also a very important pivotal part of the economy. It takes 104 billion versus 55 billion, which is 0.5% of the national budget. And lastly, out of my top 8, agriculture, which is a very, very important backbone of the economy, taking 828 billion versus 823 billion, which is 3.8% of the national budget.
Elsewhere, government will spend 976 billion on accountability, 632 billion on water and environment, 563 on public administration, 483 billion to be spent on legislature, 975 billion on social development, 116 billion shillings on tourism, trade and industry, 104 billion shillings on ICT, 71 billion shillings on science, technology and innovation, among others. And from across the region, Kenya plans to spend 2.29 trillion shillings ahead of the general elections. Rwanda plans to spend 2 trillion Rwandan francs. Tanzania will spend 32 trillion Tanzanian shillings in the financial year 2017-2018, with the largest East African nation setting sights on the domestic market to fund huge infrastructure projects. Malcolm Sime, NTV Tonight.